Hello, welcome to Theosophy in Wales. I'm Dave Marsland. The review of life at the point of death, sometimes referred to as the near-death review. At the point of death, a panorama of the life that we've just lived unfolds before us. Now, this isn't just a video of your life. It covers your whole life. It's extremely detailed, it's objective, and it's very vivid. It's realistic. You don't deceive yourself, and there's no opportunity to edit the information, as you would say, or you might edit your CV for a favourable outcome. It gives you the situation, a realistic situation of the life that you've lived. It puts you at the centre of events, and you are shown the effect that your life has had on people and the world. And again, that is totally the facts. It's totally realistic. Now, your condition at the time of death doesn't really affect this. You can be drunk, you can be mentally ill, you can die in an accident. You'll still get this review, although many people say that if somebody is dying a natural death, the room should be kept quiet to allow them to go through this review. So that is something to consider. What's the purpose of this? It seems like you've just lived your life and you then have to go through it again without illusion. Seems a bit tough. But there's a serious purpose to it. It is the first stage in assimilating the experience and knowledge gained from the life you just lived, for the spiritual ego to take forward to future lives, and also form the equation for your next life, because in each life you choose the best life available for what you need to learn. So that will form the basis for your next life, or the circumstances of your next birth, and the sort of person you are in that life. Now, there is an interesting theory some people have about the near-death review, and that is that if you're into past life regression, hypnotic regression, and you can remember past lives, you're actually not remembering the past life directly. You're remembering this review, because it's somehow retained by your spiritual ego. It's still there. And so, talking about past lives, if you're interested in that, it certainly is an idea for consideration. Anyway, we all go through this, a realistic review of our lives at the point of death. Very serious purpose to it, to help assimilate what we've learned in this life, in our current life, and something that we take forward with us. Again, whatever you've done in your life, it's all in the equation, and there's no free lunch. The assessment at the end is totally realistic. Hello, welcome to Theosophy Wales. I'm Dave Marsland. Karma LOKA. Well, Karma LOKA is the spirit realm, or the desire realms, more specifically the desire realm, and it's where our non-physical parts go after physical death. Now, if you look at the state of death, after you're dead, then your physical body dissolves away. In Karma LOKA, it's your emotional body, the body of desire, that dissolves away. and then eventually you enter the second death, in which you go into a state of bliss known as DEVACHAN. I'll speak about that in a minute. Now, the physical body has gone, but you still have, or basically the same really, you just don't have a physical body. The desire body and the other principles continue through Karma Loka. Karma Loka has 7 levels, the most dense at the bottom, the finest at the top. The lowest level of Karma Loka is probably equivalent to hell, and the highest level is actually not a bad place to be. And you move through that as your emotional body, your emotions dissolve. Now, your emotional body combining with your lower levels of mind, forms the personality ego. So, as you move through Karma Loka, you actually lose your personality. Now, the emotional body disintegrates, and because your personality relies on a level of mind as well, the levels of mind that were affected by the emotional body forming the personality become redundant, and they form a sort of shell that with a little bit of the emotional body. It's a sort of shell, a bit like a dead body on the astral plane. You leave it behind, you don't take it with you. So you move through and your personality basically disintegrates. Now, that can be difficult for some people. Firstly, at the point of physical death, some people try to get back into the physical body. Now, you're wasting your time with that one, but there is very often with people an attachment to earth life, want to get back into the physical body, or for the non-physical parts to hover around it. Now, Hindu cremations are at dawn the following morning for that reason, and most Theosophists prefer the idea of cremation. There's nothing to attach to, although most Theosophists are aware of all this, and it's probably not too much of a problem. But you find you're going through into the spirit realm. Now, one of the problems is that you find you're dead, and you're just the same as you were in physical life at first, because you still have the personality. And if you may have a problem with things that you're attached to, but you may have a problem with addictions. Now, if you're desperate for a fag, you're going to find you haven't got a body to smoke it with. So the addictions to cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, or even gambling are still going to be there. And the reason for this is that although we normally associate addictions with the physical body, they actually originate in the desire body. More obvious with say an emotional gambler, but it's the same with cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, that you eventually have to move beyond this, and it will dissolve away. Karma Loka is not eternal, but it will dissolve away, and it's something possibly to consider, that you don't leave your addictions behind upon physical death. And the same with an emotional gambler, that the desire for gambling will have to dissolve away, and the part of the mental body involved in, or the mind principle involved in gambling also has to become redundant, has to disengage. Anyway, as you move through Karma Loka, you divest yourself of your emotional body, which eventually becomes, you'll leave a bit of a shell behind, which is equivalent of another dead body that you leave behind. But you won't have a problem with it, you move on. Now, at the end of Karma Loka, a combination of the very highest levels of mind, and those are the highest levels the highest level of mind is influenced by Buddhi, the body of enlightenment. It's sometimes referred to what goes into DEVACHAN as the aroma of mind. This will combine again with the body and the Atma, which is the highest principle in man, the divine spark in everybody. This will form the reincarnating ego, and the mind part will provide an essence of the experience of the life lived. And you will enter the second death or go through the second death and enter DEVACHAN, the state of bliss. Now, the situation in DEVACHAN is interesting because, firstly, your personality is gone, so there's no possibility of any negativity there. You can't have a negative thought in DEVACHAN because your personality, the desired body is gone. So you can't have the facility to have a negative thought is there. But what you will have is a mind influenced by the higher principles, by the body of enlightenment. And in DEVACHAN you experience or you explore the aspirations of spiritual aspirations that you had during earth life. The more spiritual you are, the more you have to work with. Now, your situation in DEVACHAN is rather unusual because you still have the identity you had in your last life, but you don't have your personality. It's an interesting situation. It's difficult to imagine being in that situation, but you are surrounded by people that you knew in earth life, and this is all excellent because there is no negativity. It's a complete state of bliss. There are two phases of DEVACHAN as well. This is the first phase. The second phase, you lose your last earth identity and you prepare for rebirth. But DEVACHAN is a great place to be. So there we are, the movement up through Karma Loka and to DEVACHAN, the second death, and then eventually you move on to rebirth. But Karma Loka, I think the idea of ending up in hell, I don't think that need concern most people. You will enter Karma Loka at the level appropriate to yourself, and probably not at the lowest level. I think we will all have things to deal with, unless you're an extremely spiritual person, in which case you'll just sail through it. If you don't have attachments, you're extremely spiritual and you don't have addictions, you're not interested in sort of power and material possessions, you'll move through it quite quickly. And many religions actually, although they don't mention Karma Loka in any of their theology, they actually do prepare you for this. Okay, Karma Loka, the spirit realm, we're all going to go there, and it's a question of now you've seen me talking about this, you may have a few ideas about how to deal with it, or how to prepare yourself for it for when you get there. Hello, welcome to Theosophy in Wales. I'm Dave Marsland. DEVACHAN. Well, DEVACHAN is a state of bliss which occurs between incarnations or between lives. It's the closest thing that Theosophy has to heaven, but it is, however, a state, not a place. Now, when you reach DEVACHAN, and it's difficult to refer to it always as a state, but when you reach it, all your spiritual aspirations during earth life will be realised and explored. And if you have a lot to work with, then you will make spiritual progress while you're there. Now, it isn't a place like heaven or the fields of Elysium in Virgil's Aeneid, but it does correspond to the three highest levels of the mental plane, or the three highest levels of mind. So in that sense you could find a location for it in terms of planes of nature and the constitution of man. Now, with DEVACHAN, you don't just show up there. It's not like you die and arrive in heaven. There's a bit of a journey to go through, and some people have quite a big journey to make. Now, upon physical death, you go into the spirit realm or desire realm, known as Karma-loka. There are 7 levels of this, going from the densest at the bottom to the finest at the top. The lowest level of Karma-loka would be the equivalent to hell. Not a particularly good place to end up, and the top level is actually not a bad place to be. However, none of this is eternal, even if you end up at the lowest level, which is unlikely most of us ever will. Most of us will, but you do move through it. It's not like eternal damnation. You move beyond it. Now, once you're in Karma-loka, your desire principle dissolves away. Now, the desire principle is combined with the lower levels of mind, and that forms the personality ego, the personality. Now, as the desire principle dissolves away, so the sections of the mind that combine with the desire principle become redundant and form a shell which eventually will dissolve away, but in any case you don't take it with you beyond Karma-loka. Now, one of the problems with the journey through Karma-loka is it can be a long and difficult one if you have a lot of attachments, attachments to earth life, material ambition, and anger and resentment. And say we're taking anger and resentment, or even ambition. If you have trouble letting, say, anger, resentment, ambition go, letting go of it while you're alive, then it really isn't going to be easier once you're dead. And this is something that will hold you back and can make the journey through Karma-loka very difficult. In fact, most religions say let it go, and also many religions say, well, don't put everything into sort of like material ambition, material possessions, and that sort of thing. So although Karma-loka is probably not mentioned in religion, or even the concept of it isn't there, you have this advice to let go of things, and in a way that is preparing you for the after-death states, at which you lose everything, and you basically have to come to terms with losing everything. But I think with anger and resentment, that probably is the difficult one that will hold a lot of people back, because it's very, very hard to let go very often, and if you take it with you, it'll still be hard to let go. Okay, having done that, so you've gone through Karma-loka, a very spiritual person will probably razz straight through it with not much trouble, but okay, you go through it and you reach the second death. Now, in the second death, you form what is really the reincarnating ego, which is the higher essence of mind, higher elements of mind, the ones influenced by the Buddhic principle, the body of enlightenment. But he said higher elements of mind, the Buddhic principle, and the Atma, which is the piece of the divine in everybody, the divine spark in everybody, form the reincarnating ego, and goes into DEVACHAN. Now, DEVACHAN has 2 phases, Rupa and Arupa. Rupa is form and or with form, and Arupa is without form. I'll come to that in a minute. Now, you get to DEVACHAN. Now, it's a rather unusual situation, difficult to imagine. Your personality has dissolved, but because the higher element of mind is still there, or it's the 3 higher elements of mind, levels of mind are still there, you still have your identity from earth life, but you don't have your personality. Anyway, it's a state of bliss in which spiritual aspirations are realised and explored, and in which, if you have enough to work with, you will make some spiritual progress there. Also, you will be surrounded by friends and relatives, and everybody will be excellent to each other, because your desire principle has gone, so it's impossible to have a negative thought. So everything comes from the body of enlightenment. It's at the higher level. There's no negativity. Also, with your friends and relatives, they're not really there. It's just more of it's a virtual world, although it will seem very real to you. No, it's something that allows you to assimilate the experience, or the higher experiences and aspirations of your life, and the more spiritual you have been during earth life, the more you will have to work with, as there are various levels of DEVACHAN corresponding to your level of spirituality. But everybody experiences DEVACHAN. Now, your experience of state of bliss, and you still can know who you are in terms of your past earth life, that sadly comes to an end, and you enter the arupa phase. It's not a bad thing, but your bliss exhausts itself, and you go to the arupa phase. Now, that really involves only the very highest level of mind, in conjunction with the body of enlightenment. You lose at that point your previous life identity. So you've lost that. You're now ready to take on a new identity in a new life. And from this you make preparations to go back into incarnation, into your next life, and you choose the best life available, and that means the circumstances of your birth, the sort of person you'll be, and generally have an agenda, develop an agenda for what you need to learn. Things will happen in that life. There will be certain situations, and the circumstances of birth will give you something to deal with. Your physical body maybe you may have advantages, disadvantages, depending on what you need to learn. So that's it really. You've completed the cycle, and you're back into you're back into incarnation. Hello, welcome to Theosophy in Wales. I'm Dave Marsland. TRISHNA. Now this is the need to incarnate, the need to come into physical incarnation. Theosophist Powers Holt described it as the thirst for manifested existence when you're outside incarnation. And you could describe it as the need to live when you're outside incarnation, corresponding to the will to live when you're actually in incarnation. Now, okay, you go through the after-death states, or the interlife states, and you reach DEVACHAN, state of bliss at which your spiritual aspirations are realised. That exhausts itself, and you then choose the best life available for what you need to learn, and you come back into incarnation. But you don't make an executive decision about coming back into incarnation. You don't actually have a choice. It's, oh, I'm not going to bother, I'll hold on for a bit. No, you don't have a choice. You're also not, strictly speaking, driven by desire, because your desire principle has dissolved away with your personality from the previous life. TRISHNA is an imperative. It's a hard wiring. You have to go with it. You have to come back into incarnation. You have a choice about the life you're going to live, the sort of person you're going to be, the circumstances of your birth and that. But you're going to come back. There is no choice. And you could describe TRISHNA as the need to give life another go. Now, one factor here is if you have unfinished business possibly from the last life, or from any life, but if you've got unfinished business, giving you something that you want to pick up and run with, I think that can intensify the effect of Trishna, that you've actually got something to go for specifically in a future life. It's unfinished business from a previous life. So there you are. You've no choice about coming back. Trishna sees to that. But you do choose the best life available for what you need to learn, and there you are. You then give life another go.